Today on Broadscast, we are talking to the plagiarism scooper, media darling, Jarrett Hill. We're also going to hear from savvy Auntie Melanie Notkin, as well as Congressman from Rhode Island, David Cicilline. So stay tuned for this fabulous episode.
Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads. This is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Today's Broadscast is sponsored by Audible.com. You can get one of 180,000 audiobooks from Audible.com with a free trial and a free audiobook download by going to audibletrial.com/broadcast. Again, audibletrial.com/broadcast. Kim is nodding her head because you can get her book there.
Oh, yeah.
And you can get a lot of our past guests and current guests and future guests. There's so many books there. And so check it out, audibletrial.com/broadcast. And while we are mentioning it, you should head over to broadscast.com/special offers because we have a ton and it's growing every single day. We're adding more exclusive deals for Broadscast listeners. We have some new stuff coming up, but whether it's Audible, like we said, or Stitch Fix, or Blue Apron, or BarkBox, which you can get a free BarkBox, right? BarkBox. Or even GameFly.
Like a chicken. Do we have a chicken?
We don't have a chicken. Or even GameFly, which is pretty cool. You can rent games, which I think I'm going to continue doing because my kids get bored very quickly. Anyway, hi. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
For those of you, our numbers have been growing. So I'm telling you this because I actually looked at them once because we don't make a habit of doing that.
Right.
So I want to at least say hi to all the new listeners.
Hi.
Hi. And you need to get closer to your mic.
I'm coming. I feel very disorganized.
It's like an episode of Broadcast News in here this morning.
It's
News. Because it's chaos. It's chaos. So, yeah. I mean, summer is going. I just dropped so I realized this morning that my kids' camp starts at 10 and so does our show.
Oh, that's a problem.
So that's kind of So I almost went live from the Taekwondo studio, but fortunately they accepted my children a little bit early, so I could do that.
If they didn't, you would have had to have Taekwondo chopped them. Because I don't know if it's karate. Is it karate? What is it?
It's not. It's not karate. It's Taekwondo.
Right. So that's why I said you'd have to Taekwondo chop them.
Yeah, why am I not hearing you so clearly this morning?
I don't know. I'm right here. Am I plugged in?
You should be.
I don't know.
Anyway. All right. Hello. It's working. Anyway.
Yeah.
What's going on with you?
Nothing. We're just wrapping up basketball for my kid. Going on to basketball next week. I'm sending him up to Oakland to go to the Golden State Warriors camp. So he's super excited about that. We've been knee-deep in Republican National Convention stuff this week. I've been really trying to be smart this week, be educated so that I can follow along with the rest of the world and the rest of the chaos. Yeah, that's, are you okay over there?
No.
Oh, I think we're having technical.
We are having technical mic issues, Kim.
Oh.
So keep talking.
I have some of those in my life. Did you like
but
that?
Boom.
Yeah, that was a good one. So sometimes listeners, Jackie will do this to me. She leaves me hanging out here.
That's because I'm doing all the technical stuff at the same time.
I know, sister. I'm supporting you. So if I sound like I don't know what I should say, it's because I wasn't prepared to have a solo this morning. This is why we do a co-hosted show. Anyway, we can hear you both fine, is what our friend Jarrett Hill is saying. So thanks, Jarrett, for
Thank
listening.
you.
We're good. So Jackie, come back to me now. We can both be heard.
Yeah, except I'll tell you right now, our microphones are not working. Because our software. Anyway, moving on. So I'm excited. I'm excited to. All right. So you guys all know Jarrett. I think we're gonna have to talk closer to this because anyway, you guys know Jarrett from our show.
Yeah, Jarrett is our designer extraordinaire. He is our guest from another guester.
Our guest from another mother.
Jarrett is our very big friend to our show who comes on and enlightens us with his very insightful opinion. And he scooped America this week, which is so fun. We were so proud. We were like proud mamas.
Jarrett from a Starbucks scooped everybody. He was on his computer, and I texted him and I said, and I'll say this, he's coming on in a little bit. I said to him, Jarrett, so all those, years of you standing in front of a mirror reciting Michelle Obama have finally paid off.
Yeah.
Because he nailed it. Yeah. He knew exactly that something sounded familiar to him and he could talk more. But when Melania...
those that don't understand, we're talking in code. Jarrett Hill is the one that found that... Melania Trump plagiarized portions of First Lady Michelle Obama's speech. And so he's going to be here to talk about that experience, which blew up this week. I think Jared wanted to break the internet. So kudos. I think he almost did it.
He broke his phone. It was like so crazy. He had to go to the Apple store and get a new, so that was crazy.
And later in the show, we're having Congressman David Cicilline come on to the show to talk about what he's doing in Congress and what he's working for in the area of Rhode Island and what he's trying to do for the rest of the country. So I'm super excited to have him on for a couple minutes later in the show. He's very busy today, so he's squeezing us in, and we appreciate that. And then, of course,
Congressman, we're busy too. We're squeezing you in.
So anyway, that's what I got.
That's awesome. But first, before all of that, and she's going to come on in a little bit, we're going to talk to Melanie Notkin, who also, I think she and Jarrett are in a race for
number of appearances on the show.
Yeah, like how many times they've been on the show, because they're both, I think...
Our only friends?
No, they're not our only friends, but we love them here, so we... love to work with them.
Yeah.
But she's got Auntie's Day coming up, or as you like to say, Auntie's Day.
Auntie.
This Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is very cool.
Right.
Hey, so let's just real quick, because we only have like 3 minutes before she calls in. That guy, we have to talk about it, and I don't even know what to say.
What guy?
There's an African American man in Florida who was working with an autistic child. And he was shot by the police. He had his arms up.
Yeah, he was on his back, laying down, arms up, telling the police, I'm unarmed, I'm a mental health, I'm a behavioral therapist, I work with... And
they shot him. Yeah. And he asked them why.
And he said he didn't know.
Correct. Yeah. And then I just read, which, it's the internet, so who knows what's true, that they actually meant to shoot the autistic person.
Yeah.
Which also freaks me out, because not only... that's something... Hey, listen, I'm clearly not African-American, nor do I have to teach my children about being African-American, because they're not. So I understand that feeling of being concerned and teaching your kids of like how to behave with police, because it's a real fear. But there are also people out there who talk about special needs and the misunderstanding of special needs versus he had a toy truck.
Right.
I don't even know why I'm bringing this up, because I honestly have nothing smart or nothing to add to it other than like, what is happening?
Yeah. I don't know this one. I don't know. Honestly, it's it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And I think to hear the officer say he didn't know, why he shot. I don't know. It's a sad situation, and I'm so glad that the worker, the mental health, the behavioral specialist was survived. They shot him in the leg. I'm glad that he, has the wherewithal to be able to talk about it and discuss it. And
I think that's the best part of this, is that he's alive and we can have a true, honest conversation about it. So, but now.
Dun, dun, dun,
totally separate from that note.
Yeah, that was a great segue. I love it.
Sometimes there's no segue needed. So, Melanie Notkin, she is the author of Otherhood, and she is the founder of Auntie's Day.
Woohoo!
She's savvy auntie herself, and we've had this conversation of auntie versus auntie several times. Melanie, welcome to the show.
Hello.
How are you?
I need to know what the segue was.
Well, we were just talking about a man who was shot. So that's clearly not.
Yeah, no. And now I'm actually kind of curious about how you segued it, but again,
we didn't. That's the beauty of it. We didn't even segue it. We were like, okay. Done. Moving on. So
moving on.
But you are a woman who needs no segue, Melanie.
Actually, I would love a segue because it's Manhattan and it would be a lovely way to get around town.
Oh my gosh, did you see, just total sidebar for a second, did you see that new way to get around the airport, like sitting on the luggage and like zipping around? We put it on our Broadscast Facebook page. It looks so fun.
It's dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you know what? I don't know that's like, I don't think I would suggest that for my next date.
Actually, it could provide for a quick getaway, though.
That's true. That's true. So Sunday's a big day for you. How many? This is the 4th? No, 5th. 8th. Oh my God.
8th. Yeah, I launched it. It's the 4th Sunday in July every year since 2009.
Wow.
And it's the first day dedicated specifically to aunts. Some people say, oh, there's an aunt and uncle's day that once happened. And but moms and dads don't have like together days. So aunties deserve their own days. So it is this year, it is Sunday, July 24th, 2016.
Wow. And so what's different or new with this year versus maybe other years? Do you build on the day?
Well, I try. First of all, thankfully, the collective, the entourage, as I call us, the tribe of savvy aunties, that is growing in of itself. And then this year, we've got a T-shirt. I might have to stand up, so
Yes. We're gonna put this.
Oh no, I don't know if you could say it. So this is the coolest auntie.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
we want those shirts. Tell us where to buy one.
They're kind of amazing. I partnered with Stacey Eagle, who's the founder and creative director of Boy Meets Girl, which is an extraordinary fashion brand here and in Paris. And we did this coolest collab. And there you go. And you can go to boymeetsgirlusa.com and pick one up, or 2 or 3, or however many aunts you have in your life.
That's cool. Now, you're not a millennial. It's funny that you just said collab. Because
what does that mean?
When people, I know, it's such a millennial term. I always say to my husband, the difference between a millennial and someone older when they finish a word. Because I work with people and they're like, oh, we should totally collab. And I'm like, orate. I can't every single time. So you are so down with the millennials, Melanie.
Well, like Boy Meets Girl is, really attracts a lot of millennials. I am Gen X, 100%, right in the middle there. But, coolest collab sounds cooler than a nice collaboration.
Exactly. Well, you're in New York, so that makes you a little bit hipper than the rest of us anyway.
So what kind of activities, what kinds of things do you do to
How can we celebrate?
Yeah, Auntie.
Okay, so I actually asked the Savvy Entourage on Facebook, which is facebook.com/savvy auntie, AUNTIE, that what do they want? And frankly, each one of them said a text, a call, maybe a handmade card from a niece or nephew. I mean, just anything to acknowledge the day or to acknowledge them as contributing valuable things to those children's lives. And even if it's a baby and it's your sister who's the auntie, just call your sister and say, hey, you know what? Thanks for being there when, I had to run out, or when I was sick and you came over and you took care of the baby, or you changed, a bunch of diapers because we had twins, or whatever it is. Just acknowledment. That's all they.
It wouldn't be all that. It's such a great idea to ask you to watch the kids that day.
If you frame it a little differently, like the kids want to celebrate Auntie's Day with you.
Yes.
Do you want to take them out?
Oh, you're
Here's
brilliant.
a gift certificate for the spa, too. Yeah, I'll take it. Good.
If you treat your best friend or your sister-in-law to the day with your nieces and nephews, that's kind of like the perfect solution, right?
That's perfect.
She gets, and the truth is, she probably wants to spend time with them. She's not trying to avoid the kids. And again, she's probably more than happy to do it and spend time with them. I call it qual auntie time.
Oh, I love it.
Oh my God, I feel like we could do this forever. Do you just sit up at night and just come up with other ways that you can infuse auntie into a word?
Kim, they kind of come naturally to me because I have that kind of inspiration and intuition.
Inspiration.
I love this.
That's awesome. I have to tell you, I mean, it's not, I I've been an aunt since I was 9 years old. And my nieces and nephews, many of them who are not listening,
they're out buying you presents for Auntie.
Exactly. They're out trying to, making handmade cards. They are so important in my life. They are, I mean, I have 30 something. I'd have to stop and count them.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Wow.
Nieces and nephews. And I will tell you that the first time I ever noticed Auntie's Day was 5 years ago. I don't know why I said 4 earlier. It was 5 years ago because, today is the 5th anniversary of when I lost my niece. And so not to bring it down, because it actually has a point. It was like during that time, Auntie's Day was the same week. And it was like this shift, like this, I'm gonna be a good aunt. I'm gonna be a good aunt in celebrating her life. I'm gonna be a good aunt in letting the others know that they are just, all the, those who are here are so important to me. And every year it's like just a source of, happiness for me, and like a reminder to let them know how much I love them, because my nieces and nephews are awesome, and they're doing so many things, from the little tiny Ruby and one to all the way up to Paul and Tommy, who are the oldest. It's like, I'm so grateful that you do this. I know I'm a mom, but that role was so important before I had kids.
Well, it's not,
look, continues to be.
I know that Savvy Auntie and, I focus on the non-mom only because, we love the children in our life. However, moms, of course, are aunts too. And what I've noticed is that when a mom was an aunt first, the relationship she has with her nieces and nephews, that bond is so strong because they were her first. And yes, not her children from her. Well, a little bit from her biology. The DNA is probably in there somewhere. But I mean, these children have extraordinary place in their hearts. And I'm so sorry to hear about your niece, but I am so humbled and grateful to hear that this day has reminded you as an aunt about your relationship with those kids. Yep. And hopefully those kids are reminded of how important and valuable you are to them.
Thank you. And we just, thanks for this. We love this day, and we'll have you on every year.
It's funny because I was looking at my time hop today, that app that tells you what happens. Is like, exactly a year ago I was on the show talking about it.
We love that.
Thank you so much for all of your love and support. I love you, and happy Auntie's Day to you and to all your viewers and listeners and everybody who loves a child in their life.
Awesome. Thanks,
Happy
Melanie.
Happy
Auntie's Day.
Oh,
I said Auntie.
Auntie, bye.
So she's just, I love what she's doing, because you know what? She always says that she is, she would have liked to have had children.
Right.
She wrote the book Otherhood.
Right.
But she, that's not how it worked out, and what she's doing with her life is awesome.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, things don't always go how we have it mapped out.
It's interesting. I'm not usually the one that likes to focus on special days or whatever that Groundhog's Day or Grandparents' Day. But
so funny.
Because part of me feels like sometimes it's just Hallmark card days.
Right.
But I don't think that Melanie's started out that way. So I love that she's doing it to honor the people in her life and her role, and
there's nothing commercial about it. You know what I mean? She's just doing her thing.
I love it.
Okay, now we're going to move on. So Jarrett Hill, as you guys have heard him on the show many times, as we were saying earlier, and if you're just joining us, this is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall. Broadscast.com, 8 stations around the country. Go to broadscast.com to find out where to listen. Anyway, I know. So Jarrett was all like at a Starbucks tweeting the Republican convention like I was doing from home, and noticed when Miss Melania Trump spoke that it sounded eerily familiar. So,
what's funny to me is that I was so bored.
Jarrett,
I appreciate that you were paying such close attention that you broke this huge story, because I was
Kim
not paying that close attention.
Thanks for helping Kim with her boredom. Welcome to the show, Jarrett.
Hey, you guys. Kim, I actually have that in common with you. I was halfway tuned in, halfway tuned out. After the first minute or so, I was like, what is she even saying? Like, I don't know what she's talking about. Like, I didn't believe very much. And I was like halfway in and halfway out. And I've been saying in interviews, it's kind of weird. I realized that I was recognizing words, like kind of like when you hear a song you haven't heard in a long time.
Right.
And that kind of came back to me pretty quickly. and I finished the statement out loud with her.
Wow.
And then I was like, wait, why do I know those
How do I
words?
know
That's
this?
really weird. Yeah. And,
That's how I watch
that
TV, but that's usually because the writing is just so, plagiarized.
So, because you can see it coming, right?
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
But not with a speech. I mean, sometimes with a speech, but that was amazing. I mean, you're everywhere telling this story. And like, what does your life look like this week?
Well, I'll say Monday night has looked a lot different than Monday morning. I never anticipated this, obviously, by live tweeting the Republican convention. Now it's been insane. Like Monday night, I got home. I left the Starbucks. After the tweet had gotten to like 500 retweets, I started, and it was just like counting and going up, 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 up. Then I realized this is very quickly becoming a thing. I kindly packed up my things, put my laptop into my bag.
Did you just say you kindly packed them up?
Kindly packed up my things.
Were the people standing around you at Starbucks like, Jarrett, like it was like a Rudy moment? Or were you quietly freaking out?
No one had any clue what was going on. And I mean, if anyone was like staring at me, they might have noticed that I started shaking. Because and it was
too much coffee.
Well, it wasn't even like a shiver, it was a legit shake. Like my hands were like wobbling, and I was like, and I couldn't control that. I was like, I don't know what's happening, but something's happening. And I left the Starbucks. I immediately called my agent and was like, something is happening. I have been talking with my agent about something else earlier, like just while I was tweeting. And so she was like the first person in my mind. And I was like, I called her and I was like, something's happening. And she was like, she's on the East Coast.
I'm doing your job for you.
Well, no, she was on the East Coast. So it was like 1:00 in the morning. And so she had no cognizance of what I was talking about. And I was like, all she's hearing is I tweeted something and it got retweeted, and she was like, "Okay, well, we'll talk about it tomorrow and figure it out." She was like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and I was like, "Something's happening." I was like, "I'm literally shaking as I'm walking down the street," and she's like, "Okay, well, all right." And like,
for that, yeah.
Right. In hindsight, I realized why she was so nonchalant as opposed to like being as excited as I was because it was 1 a.m. there.
Right. Oh my gosh! But it just blew up like overnight. I remember just sitting up watching this all explode, and then the next morning, I mean, it was only 7 hours later, and it was you knew this thing had legs.
Okay, I had no idea because I followed Jarrett on Twitter, and I was looking through the tweets, and then I saw Jarrett say, "This is becoming a thing," and I'm like, "What's becoming a thing?" And I'm reading back, I'm like, "Holy crap, Jarrett!"
And it's funny, I'm like, I googled your name, and then like you could see the news reports are coming up, and then when the New York Times hit, I was like, "Okay, it's a thing."
Well, and so that's what's interesting. Kim, the tweet that you just referenced, "This is becoming a thing," has come up in just about every interview, just as much as like the actual tweet itself. Yeah, Jarrett, it became a thing. I was like, yeah, it was something. But Jackie, you just referenced something, and I was going to respond to that.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm trying to remember what you were saying.
Oh, just the New York Times. Like that's when I knew it was, a real thing. By the way, you should get a tattoo that just says, "This is becoming a thing."
This is becoming a thing. Maybe I was trying to figure out how I will commemorate this. That might be the way I do that. No, but I got home and like the first thing I saw that made me realize that this could go big, other than all the retweets, because I got home and it was like at 1,000 retweets. I saw a tweet from Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC, which I'm scheduled to be on MSNBC tonight with Lawrence O'Donnell, but how news goes, it could change at any moment if a big story happens. But I saw a tweet from him responding to someone else asking him if they were going to talk about my tweet. And he was like, "Yes, we're going to talk about it." And I thought that was as big as it could possibly be. Like, I've got 1,000 retweets and Lawrence O'Donnell's going to mention my tweet. Like, what else could I need? And then they started talking about it. And then I saw that it was also Anderson Cooper on CNN was talking about it. And then I started getting emails like lightning. And before I went to bed that night, I had been on the phone with the New York Times, with NBC News. I had been on FaceTime with CBS this morning. I had been on FaceTime live with BBC and BBC Radio.
So I was like cringing every time I would read out of work journalists. I was like, oh, come on.
No,
Lead me with something powerful.
See, I thought that was brilliant because first of all, Jarrett, if you do recall, you and I were texting and probably similar stuff that you and your agent were talking about. And I had said something to you like, something big, like something like you just need the one, or there was something. And it was like we were talking about this momentum way before having no idea, because I could feel that things were shifting for you already. And then all of a sudden, so I think the fact that they call you out of work, it's like, it's a resume right there.
Well, I'm a little bit stuck between the two of you because Kim, I was kind of where you are. Like some of them, it was like, oh, really? Yeah. But I mean, none of them was
sad,
like
Jarrett.
Right, exactly. Poor, destitute, homeless child. Like I don't know where else it was gonna go.
Trying to get free Wi-Fi at Starbucks.
Hey, it worked
exactly
for Jewel.
Right.
It worked for Jewel. She lived in a van, but okay.
Well, if I could play a guitar. But no, I mean, I've never been upset with any of them. Like, I mean, it's part of the story, and I know how this works. You want people to click on your headline. So, no, the stories have been kind of great. Jackie is being coy. Like, Jackie actually was helping me write pitches for some pitches I was sending out to talk shows, and she was really, really gracious to help me with proofing them and all that. And so I had actually haven't talked about this in any interviews. Sunday night, I had sent out my pitches to was it Sunday night or Monday night? I had sent out my pitches for design segments on talk shows like, hey guys, my name's Jarrett. Would you like to have me on your show to talk about interior design? And then I'd heard back from one major talk show that was like, hey, saw your pitch. Not sure if this is right for us. And then I ended up emailing back like, so this other thing just happened. It may be a story. I don't know.
How do you like me now?
Well, I didn't use those words, but I was just like,
well, if you got a guitar, Jarrett, you might have.
Exactly.
You could have sung them and it would have softened the blow.
Well, right. But it didn't work out that way. But yeah, everything kind of exploded really quickly. On Tuesday, I got up in the morning. The first thing I had was KTLA. I ended up doing, I believe, 14 interviews. That was
a crazy long interview, too, with Sam Rubin, and, it was really good.
My favorite television interviews that I did were my first and my last. The last one, I don't think most people have seen. I did on CNN International with Aisha Sase, and I was in studio there. My first interview was at KTLA, which I think most people that have seen my interviews probably saw that one. It was great. Yeah, and I asked them beforehand, how long we were going. I try to ask that so I know how to gauge my answers, if I need to be really tight or if we can go long. And he said, we'll kind of feel it out and see how it goes. And it ended up going a lot longer than I thought it was going to go. And it was a lot of fun. So
I love there was a promo for NBC News, and you popped up and you said, if it walks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, quack, quack. I'm like, I love that.
I never saw that. It was
on NBC. It was on local NBC News, and you were in studio, and Sam, my son, was sitting with me, and we were giggling because I was like, oh, they've got Jarrett clucking. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I think I may have said that on Lester Holt. I think I was sitting in the studio doing that. And yeah, no, that was actually like an off the cuff statement kind of at the end of our conversation. But yeah. I mean, the thing about this story that has been interesting to me, other than my tweet becoming whatever it became, was the way that we have to dance around the language that we use. And Jackie, I know you know this from working in talk shows, and Kim, you've done plenty in media as well, is we have to be really cagey around the words we use about what something is. Mm-hmm. But we have seen plenty of dancing around the use of the word plagiarism for this speech because of legal reasons, and we always have to use the words allegedly before saying someone did something. But this is one of those cases where it's half of that statement, it was 22 out of 29 words matched exactly. And I think it was a total of 56 words or something, 56 or 59 words that were the same from the speech. And it's just how, if I were to have been, I said this in an interview yesterday, if I were a student at Trump University, God forbid, and I turned in a paper that had 56 of the same words in, exact same sequence, mm-hmm. I would be, probably kicked out of school for plagiarism. You know what I mean?
And then he would call you a pig on Twitter.
Exactly. He would say I was the worst student there ever was, and it would always be like some superlative statement, the worst student that they ever saw,
right.
and all that kind of stuff. But like in this instance, they were very cagey to call it plagiarism, and in interviews I keep getting asked like, so why do you call this plagiarism, or you seem comfortable using the words plagiarism, and like they keep saying similarities, and I'm like, if similarity is like a mirror image, maybe, but like, it's been a little bit wild to me.
So what do you think, what do you say to the naysayers that are, putting it all on, I don't even remember the woman's name.
A pretend woman?
Well, yeah.
Like Meredith or Marilyn MacGyver?
Yeah, whatever her name is. Because I heard conflicting reports that Melania, that she said she wrote the speech.
She did. She told Matt Lauer that she wrote the speech with very little help.
Okay, and so then now the other woman is saying that Melania read, she used examples from Michelle Obama's speeches, that Melania read portions of it as examples of what she appreciated, and then somehow they made it into the speech and she never bothered to fact. I mean, whatever it was, like, what do you think it's all BS at this point?
So Kim, I want you to mark this moment because it'll probably be one of the few times I ever say this.
Ooh.
That part of this story, I actually believe from the Trump campaign. Just thinking about the way that speeches get written and all of that kind of stuff, and, knowing that they go around and look at different speeches before having to make a speech like this, I do believe that either Melania or the speechwriter, who is probably not this Meredith MacGyver person, because it seems more and more like this person doesn't exist. But I do believe that Melania or whoever the speechwriter was probably did look at Michelle Obama's speech, take down some of it and say, this was something really great. How do we evoke the spirit of this? Put it into the Word document and forgot to make it a different color or italicize it or otherwise delete it. And it ended up in the final speech. I do actually believe that happened. And I mean, I don't think they intended to do this because that is a real gamble, right? Like no one's going to notice. So I believe that. I don't know that I believe that this Meredith MacGyver person actually is a real person, or that she tried to resign and all this other stuff. Yeah. But even if she is real, that's a whole other scandal about the federal violation that would be. So
see, it's interesting because when they said that Melania wrote her own speech, I didn't believe that. And I don't mean it that she's not capable. I just know, having been around for a long time, that it goes through a lot of people, from editing to make sure that like you just said, the spirit, and so I didn't necessarily believe that she wrote it with no help and that they just let her I didn't believe that. I wish that there was
she had scribbled it on a napkin.
Yeah, I wish that she, yes, I did have help. These were all of my ideas. This is what my point is. This is what I wanted to say. And then I had someone help me craft it. I wish that there would just have been some authenticity. I think that would have lessened the blow a little bit. Because now you're like, oh, come on. Now you're going to say somebody else wrote it. And
unless, the person who wrote it actually wanted this to come out and was trying to, find another way to.
Well, and I mean, I've heard various theories. I've heard theories about myself. I've heard theories about the speechwriter. I've heard all these different crazy things. And I'm like, some of these theories would make for great television, but they aren't true. They're not actually real life.
What are the best theories you've heard about yourself?
Well, I've heard
you're hired by Hillary Clinton, right?
Right. That I'm a Clinton operative and I'm on her payroll, which if I was on the Clinton payroll, I definitely would not have been unemployed sitting at Starbucks, live tweeting. I've heard that the speechwriter was a former Democrat who wrote for Barack Obama and was like a plant at the Trump campaign to sabotage Melania. I've heard all kinds of crazy ideas, and it's just these are all great stories. I mean, I can only tell you about me. I've never met Hillary Clinton or talked to anyone from the Clinton campaign. I'd happily do work there, but that's just not the case. So that's been an interesting twist for me. And I actually saw that in a tweet the first night, and I was like, are people going to believe this? And I was like, oh, they probably will if someone says it.
Yeah. So. Right. So, I mean, Shonda Rhimes is like, yes, there's so much good stuff here.
Oh my gosh,
to
right?
Add to Scandal.
Oh my gosh, if this came up in an episode of Scandal, I would probably pee my pants.
Well, you have to you should tweet her and say, if she does something on this, you need to be in the episode.
I need to be in the episode. Someone asked me who would play me in the movie, and I was like, it'd probably end up being Jesse Williams over in Grey's Anatomy. like, because Shonda, I'm sure, would do something with it. But yeah, no, it's been pretty nuts.
So did you get a job yet?
So what's the ultimate goal here?
Say that again?
Did you get a job?
Well, I've gotten a few pieces of outreach from a few different places. I've read articles saying like, oh, the networks are beating down his door. And I was like, I'm at the door right now and I literally see nothing.
Peering through the people, anybody?
Exactly. It was one of those moments, and I mean, I'm by no stretch of the imagination a celebrity, but I've had a little bit of attention this week, and I've heard celebrities say, and before, like, they've gone and read headlines about themselves and been like, is that true? And it was definitely that kind of moment, where I was like, wait, who said what? Like, I've not heard anything about that. And so I've had a few pieces of outreach, but I've definitely not been like bombarded with offers. But some things are maybe percolating, I guess. And I mean, we'll see over the next couple of days what comes in, but we will see what happens.
So I was reading something about you this morning, a whole like thing about you being the media darling. And, you know, you said something like you want to be a reporter by day, an interior designer by night. Like, what would be the ultimate goal? Like here you are in this crossroads in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have the design background, you have the journalism stuff, like, and so here is this thing that not falls in your lap because you created it, you know, with your quick thinking and many hours in front of the mirror as Michelle Obama.
I heard you say that, and I was like, I wish I knew that Michelle Obama speech, and I could deliver it at some point.
Seriously, we need to videotape you just like doing the whole thing.
Of course.
Like a Stuart Smalley.
Yeah, totally. In front of the mirror with a brush or something.
Of course.
But so what? I mean, if you could write the rest of this story, I mean, you know,
nobody. In your own words, please.
Oh crap!
Good one, Kim. But nobody could have predicted this situation. So. Clearly, life is crazy. So write the rest of the story, as Kim said, in your own words.
Well, I mean, what I would love to do realistically is be able to do television by day and design at night, or I mean, and not necessarily every single day, obviously, but like I would love to have a full-time role where I can present stories and, you know, do that on television every day, whether it was with a national news network or however that, you know, manifests itself. That would be ideal. I would love that. And, you know, I've been trying to figure out the ways to make that happen over the last year since getting laid off. And then I've always imagined that I would have my design business on the side. It's no like unfamiliar idea, especially in this day and age, to be doing multiple things for having multiple streams of income. And just being able to kind of serve all of the different parts of yourself. And so I consider myself a creative to the core. And I want to be able to do design. I've done graphic design for many years, and you know, all of those things. I want to be able to produce content. Like Jack, you know about myself with podcasting and wanting to develop television shows and all that kind of stuff. So, perfect world, I'd be on television every day doing some kind of news or commentary or presentation, and then at night doing design and working out the idea of doing a design television show as well, which. I'm working out, developing this concept for a show to be able to pitch. And this might help me to be able to get a meeting for something like that, you know, so we'll see.
Are you going to be live tweeting during the Democratic National Convention as well?
Absolutely. I last night was the first time I was able to live tweet again because the last 2 days have been so crazy. But I will be watching every minute. But in a different way, like I was watching because we've heard for so long, like the RNC was going to be crazy and, there's going to be some crazy stories coming out of there. I had no idea what one of those stories was going to be, obviously, but I'm watching the DNC because I'm curious about the ways that we're going to get people to coalesce around Hillary Clinton, the way that the RNC had to get people to coalesce around Donald Trump. Right. And I want to see what she's going to say, how she's going to approach this. And I'm also really interested in the set design. Like, what is the DNC going to look like this year?
So I have a question. This is just, we were talking off air about like how unintelligent I am about certain things. So how does it get determined which convention goes first? Do you know?
I heard someone say this on television last night, and I'm not sure because I was asking the same thing. I believe the party in power goes second. I think that's how it works. Because if we think about 2008, Barack Obama's nomination went first, and John McCain announced Sarah Palin the next day, right before their convention. And this time, obviously, the Democrats are going second. So I believe the party in power goes second, but I don't know that is fact. I heard that last night on the news, though.
Wow. So what do you think? Since that night, we've had a couple more nights of convention festivities. God. What are your thoughts? We've got about 2 more minutes.
It has been horrifying, if I'm being wholly honest with you. Watching it is just a little bit scary. It feels like, I don't know if you guys have seen posts. I've seen more posts on Facebook than like actual articles, but people's like first person accounts of being at a Trump rally and how horrifying it's been. I felt like this was the first time we could see that more than just like watching a Trump rally or something like that. It just felt scary. Like, did you not feel like any kind of energy coming through the screen with Chris Christie, like guilty or not guilty? Guilty! And like, it just felt like...
It felt like a cult meeting.
Exactly. It felt like, I saw someone say, and I definitely agreed, like the Salem witch trials, it felt horrifying. And I thought, if Hillary Clinton were even in the city, I would be horrified for her safety. Regardless of your politics or if you like her or not or whatever, just like her safety in that building would have certainly been a concern.
Well,
and I don't know that...
They said that about Ted Cruz's wife, that when she needed to be escorted out because she felt that there was like physical...
at the convention?
After Ted Cruz didn't endorse Trump.
Wow.
I mean, there was a picture of her being surrounded, and I have no idea. I mean, again,
because I heard somebody physically went after Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Well,
I watched the beginning of it and felt like they could have it was like a plug and play. Like, I didn't think it mattered who the nominee was. I felt like they weren't really speaking specifically about Trump, that the first night of it was just anybody could have come across the stage and they would have said the same thing. Periodically, I could hear someone every once in a while mention Trump's name and be supportive. But overall, I'm like, I don't think they really care who the nominee is. Like, that's kind of how I was feeling.
I agree. And like, I mean, it's hard to understand how the party that a few months ago was just mortified at the idea of him even being, a front-running candidate is now like booing someone for not endorsing him. Like, not that Ted Cruz got up there and like bashed Donald Trump or said he was terrible or anything. He just didn't say he was voting for him or endorsed him, and he was being booed off the stage, and his wife was worried about her safety. Like, that is a huge swing, right? Yeah. From like, how could he possibly be our candidate? It's just hard to imagine how we got here.
Well, it's also kind of hypocritical, though, in some ways, that Donald Trump, his whole philosophy is that he's doing things different. He's challenging power. He has his own ideas and his own ideals, and then got mad at Cruz for following his instincts and following his own beliefs and not endorsing him. Like, that to me was very hypocritical. Like, one of the things that people love about Trump is that he flies in the face of what the party lines are, and he's pulling the veil back, and he's questioning power in the government, and then but Ted Cruz didn't follow the rules, like,
exactly, with his arms folded and his lip pouted out.
Yeah, I was like, you know what, I don't know. My only hope is that the Clinton camp and the Democratic, the DNC, doesn't retaliate in a same childish manner, because I really want there to be some integrity in this political race, and I
that ship is sailed.
I know, but I really hope that they didn't spend this whole week like coming up with memes, like, I really hope that it's about integrity and what she's going to. I'm so sick of hearing what they're not going to do. I want to know what you are going to do. Like,
I mean, it's parenting 101. Don't tell the kids what not to do.
Yeah.
You don't say,
lead with strength. Like,
don't jump off the house, because all they hear is jump off the house.
Right.
Well, I
keep
think
your feet on the ground.
To both of your points, Kim, I think this has been classic Trump, right? Like, Trump is, and I know you guys have another guest. Just want to lastly say, like, this has been classic Trump campaign in the way that they have handled this whole campaign and this whole convention. They have really just kind of said whatever they wanted to say, no matter if it was factual, no matter if it contradicted something else that they said. Even with the Mike Pence interview on Sunday, where they asked him, like, how could you choose Mike Pence when he supported the war in Iraq, and that's one of your biggest attack lines against Hillary Clinton? He's like, oh, it's okay if he made that mistake, but she can't make that mistake. Yeah, he literally said that.
Yeah. Trump's gonna fix everything, and he's gonna fix it by January 21st.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
And we got to run, Jarrett. We would love to have you on, and call us. Or definitely, let's talk next week and give us a Democratic convention.
Where are they now?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I look forward to talking to you guys.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks,
Jarrett Hill. Oh my gosh, that was so fun. Like,
it's good having someone that knows how this works, because he was very cognizant of our time, because we have someone.
I know, right?
Yeah, that we are. Our next guest has a very limited window, and so thank you, Jarrett, for being keeping us in check. I mean, you and I could just blah 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 blah. So I appreciate
and we
that.
have.
What, blah 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 blah?
Yeah, we have in the past with him. We could talk all the time.
So our next guest, we are calling him. So give us a second to make that happen. It's Congressman David Cicilline from Rhode Island. We are catching him in between meetings. So we're excited. Oh, is it ringing?
And in the car, it's ringing. I don't know if our listeners can hear it though. You should do the ringing. Hello, Congressman.
Hello.
Hi, Congressman.
Oh, I'm putting them on right now.
Oh, hi, Richard.
See, this is we're live here.
Good afternoon.
Hello. How are you?
Hi, Congressman. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much. I know you've got a couple minutes this morning or this afternoon. You're on the East Coast, in between meetings. So we just want to welcome you to Broadscast. We are live here on the West Coast. So I was inspired by you the night that you did that you sat in. That you had to sit in at the House of Reps and in protest to the lack of movement on behalf of the House in terms of gun control. So we wanted to have you on today to talk a little bit about what you're doing and your initiatives. And so I know you have limited time,
thank you.
Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, no, thank you. I, along with several of my colleagues, John Lewis, Catherine Clark, John Larson, just became increasingly frustrated at the refusal of the Republican leadership to take up any legislation to respond to this public health crisis of gun violence in our country. 33,000 people each year lose their life at the hand of a gun. We have more guns per person than any country in the world. Like, it's 112 per 100 people in the world. It seems that almost every week there's another mass shooting in this country. And so, we have put forth two simple bills, universal background checks to make sure everyone goes through a background check so the wrong people don't get their hands on a gun. And another piece of legislation that says if you're on the terror watch list because you've been determined to be too dangerous to get on an airplane, that you can't go into a gun store and buy a gun. And these are common sense proposals, but we have been unable to get the House Republicans to bring any bills to the floor. And, after our colleague, Gabby Giffords, was shot, I thought, that would be the moment. Then we had 21st graders at Sandy Hook Elementary School, babies. And you think, well, oh my God, this will be enough to persuade my colleagues to do something. And it didn't. And then 49 individuals dancing in a night hug were slaughtered in Orlando, and nothing. And it's really disgraceful. I mean, so the sit-in was really a product of, like, what can we do to force them to try to break this logjam and get them to do their jobs and take up, give us a vote on these two proposals. If they don't think they're good ideas, vote against them. Make your argument why you don't think background checks should occur, why you think people on the terror watch list should get to buy guns. But give us a vote. Give the American people the opportunity to see where you stand. And we were not successful in getting a vote, but we are not done. We are not giving up. When we come back in September, we're going to continue this fight.
So why do you think that the Republicans weren't willing to give you a vote? I mean, I tuned in midway through, I was watching C-SPAN, so I didn't. Why were they so shut off to, like you said, just give us a vote, just tell us no? Like, what's their
well,
I think
the problem is these are two pieces of legislation that are supported by 85 and 90% of the American people, Republicans, Democrats, Independents. So these are broadly supported by the American people, not supported by the leadership of the NRA. And there are many members of the Congress who continue to kneel at the altar of the NRA and who are responding to the positions of the NRA. And I think the leadership did not want to bring those bills to the floor because they would put the Republican members in a very tough position. they voted for the bills, they would incur the wrath of the NRA. If they voted against the bills, they would incur the wrath of their constituents. So the best way to avoid putting them in that position is just not bring the bills to the floor for a vote. But, in the end, they're going to be accountable for that because the Republicans are complicit in this when they allow or don't press the Speaker to bring these bills to the floor. I think the voters are smarter than that. They know that the Democrats are fighting for common sense gun safety legislation and that the Speaker of the House and the Republican leadership are standing in the way and refuse to move forward on them. And the American people are tired of it. I mean, this is an epidemic. This happens at a level that doesn't happen in any other developed country, and it cannot be that our response to it is, one moment of being quiet. We do a moment of silence every time there's one of these mass shootings, and 49 people slaughtered in a nightclub with an assault weapon. And what is Congress's response to it? The sum total of 1 minute of being quiet and doing nothing. Like, that's the answer. And I just think, we don't need more moments of silence. We need many moments of sustained action. People want to see something done about this. And it's a national disgrace that Congress has failed to take up any of these measures. There are over 200 bills that have been filed that would reduce gun violence in many different ways. And, the argument that's always made is, there's no bill that's going to eliminate all gun violence. Of course that's true. There won't be one bill, but we can pass a package of bills that, taken together, can substantially reduce gun violence in this country and protect our constituents and protect the American people. And that's what we should be doing. And we ask that we not leave, don't adjourn. Let's stay here until we take these bills up and do something. But they adjourned and took no action.
Okay, so how do you bridge the gap between the people that say common sense laws take away the Second Amendment? Like, that's the argument that I keep hearing people say, that the Democrats are trying to take away my right to bear arms. So
yeah, I mean,
I don't subscribe to what's that?
No, the Democrats nobody can take away the right to bear arms. It's in our Constitution.
Right.
And no one, in fact, the sponsor of the bill that we're asking for a vote on is a gun owner. So, I mean, these are bipartisan bills, and one of the sponsors is a gun owner. The Second Amendment clearly provides, as interpreted by the Supreme Court, the right for people to have a firearm. And I recognize that. We all recognize that. But we also have a responsibility to keep guns out of the hands of individuals who should not have them. Criminals, seriously mentally ill, domestic abusers, other suspected terrorists. So, look, no one is saying that if you're a law-abiding citizen, you can't have a gun. But what we are saying is, let's do everything we can to keep guns out of the hands of individuals who shouldn't have them, who are prohibited by law from having them, which is why we have a background check. I mean, the background check system works. Since it's been put in place, over 2 million people who are not eligible to buy a gun because they were a convicted felon or some other disqualifying fact have been denied their ability to purchase a gun. So background checks work. The problem is about 35% of gun purchases happen without a background check because they happen online or gun show. So we know it's a system that works. Let's just make sure all gun sales require a background check. We'll make the community safer. We're not denying anyone who's a law-abiding citizen has a right to have a gun the ability to get one. We're just making sure that we keep them out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them.
But how do you respond? Half the country, or let's just split half the country, the Democrats and the Republicans, and half the country believes that every single time something happens, the Democrats are going to stand up and say, gun control, gun control. So it's happened so often that they already just ignore it or block it out, or it already becomes like, how do we stop, take a breath, and come together? I know this sounds so naive as I say it, but come together in a way.
It doesn't sound. No, it doesn't. You're right. I mean, that's why we started with the 2 bills that we started with on purpose, because they should be ones that we can come together on and show the American people that we're working together to try to make some progress on this issue. These are 2 pieces of legislation that were introduced by Republicans and Democrats, so they're bipartisan. They have the support of 85% of the American people. So, you pick a bill that's introduced by Republicans and Democrats that is supported by almost everyone in America. There's no controversy about these bills anywhere but in Congress. And you think, how can you not pass these 2 bills? We're not saying, there's a lot of other bills, but here are 2 what should be easy ones to start with. And I think if we could make some progress on these, then I think people would understand, there's work we can do, there's common ground we can find. I mean, the problem has been the NRA so far has opposed any of these bills, and they've never lost, frankly. And so I think until we have a success and we can actually move one of these bills and pass them and demonstrate that you can stand up to the NRA and do what you think is right for your constituents. And it's very frustrating, but I think in the end, we just can't let this issue go. I think what happens is we have these horrible shootings, and in that moment, everyone's, we've got to do something, and then it sort of dissipates, and then time passes. And what we have to do is we have to sustain America's attention on this issue. We need outside groups that have been very active in this to continue to be active and press my colleagues to demand that we take action on this. We just have to make it clear we're not going away. We're going to keep fighting.
Do you think that a change in leadership in the White House is going to help or hurt your momentum? Or is it?
It depends who it is. I think it depends who it is. The Republican nominee has made it very clear that he would oppose any of the things we're talking about. He's campaigns on, being supported by the NRA, et cetera. So I think if Mr. Trump becomes our president, it will make it much more difficult. I think if Secretary Clinton becomes our president, we have a greater chance of success because she supports gun safety legislation.
Right. But as does, our current president, and we still don't see, what really has to happen, in order
what has to happen is people who, what I think has to happen is people who are standing in the way of common sense gun safety legislation have to go find other jobs. They have to be defeated. Only when people see that there's a political consequence to defying the will of the American people, to refusing to enact common sense gun safety legislation that your constituents are demanding that you do, that they say, okay, we're going to find someone else who's actually going to do the job. I think if we can demonstrate that there's a political cost to ignoring the will of the American people in this context, that will make a difference.
Okay, and last question,
and that's
because I
why
know you have to
elections
go.
matter.
As a voter, beyond voting for people that I know support what I believe in, what can we do to help further what our beliefs are in this arena?
Well, there are a number of really important organizations that have been doing a lot of work in this area, from the Brady campaign to Everytown to Mothers Demand Action, a number of national organizations, and there are local organizations. I would encourage your listeners, if you care about this issue, make sure you vote on this issue, find out where candidates stand on it, but become involved, join one of these large organizations, and be part of a national effort to bring about responsible gun safety legislation.
Well, we love that you were able to spend a couple minutes with us today. You certainly, this is very important to me, so I appreciate you coming on and talking about it. Congressman David Cicilline, on break from your job, but still working hard to help keep us all safe. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, have a great
day.
Bye-bye. I think, it's kind of like this argument where people walk, like even in a relationship, and you keep arguing over the same thing and you do it in the exact same way, that nobody is ever going to listen. Like at some point, something has to shift a little bit. So it's like, oh, we're coming at it in a different way. And I just don't know how to do that.
But he makes the point that like they tried to talk to the other side, during the Senate sessions and the House sessions, and they shut him down. Like, how do you come to a common place or any place if you literally walk out of the room and turn the lights off, which is what they did literally when the congressmen that were supporting these bills were trying to speak. They literally turned the lights off. Like that. You don't have to agree, but at least be open to a conversation so that points can be heard, opinions can be heard, and there could be some discussion versus the nothing discussion. So,
right. Absolutely.
I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, that's it. That's all we have for today. Head over to Broadscast.com if you're not already there, and check out all the places you can find us on the air.
And thank you to all of our guests today.
Yes.
Jarrett Hill, Melanie Notkin Did, Auntie, and Congressman David Cicilline from Rhode Island. I don't know what that accent is.
I know. What was that?
I don't know. Rhode Island.
it's
kind
kind
of Christopher Walken right there.
It's kind of like a Boston accent, but it has a little extra twang. But, head over to Facebook and check us out there. And also, just a reminder for special offers, Broadscast.com
/special offers
and to be part of our special offers, we are always looking for friends and partners for Broadscast. We are expanding our reach and would love to have people come in on the ground level with us and share your product, your mission, your company, and become a partner with Broadscast. And we look forward to having those conversations.
Because where else can you reach this many women, smart women, educated women, women who stand up for what they think is right? Not necessarily women who agree on everything,
right?
But those who feel confident in her own abilities and ideas and thoughts to come together in one place and share them.
Right.
Wow, I want to sponsor us. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. We will talk to you next time. Have a great weekend.
You're listening to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall, the most riveting hour of radio ever.